If you're not familiar, Razer is a company that started out making gaming peripherals, mice, eGPUs. They eventually moved on to laptops and even phones. Their best-selling product line, though, is probably the Razer Blade line, which is their super powerful but still portable lineup of gaming laptops. I personally use the newest Razer Blade 15 for video editing. Now besides this, they have the Blade Pro, which is sort of their overkill on power, not so portable machine, and their Blade Stealth, which has been their much less powerful but ultra portable model. Now I did a video on the original Stealth and loved the form factor, the battery life, and styling actually, but I couldn't use it as my daily laptop because it just didn't have a good enough GPU to handle Premiere and editing my footage. So I sort of ended up longing for a laptop with the power to handle my videos, but the smaller size and better battery life of the Stealth. Well, this new Razer Blade Stealth 2019 might just come close. Now Razer was kind enough to allow me to borrow a pre-release model, so I figured, as is usual on this channel, I would try to do a complete walkthrough for you guys. Now, if you're not familiar, a complete walkthrough on this channel is where I try to go through every feature I possibly can on a new device so that you guys are more prepared should you be in the market to go buy one. Now, with that said, there is a lot to go through. So let's start with the styling. There's no doubt at this point now, Razer has a pretty specific new design language going on. Square. This new Stealth is following suit of the Razer Blade 15 and even the Razer Phone 1 and 2 with the new squared off shape. Putting it next to either makes it look like a small version of the 15 or a very large version of the phone. Personally though, I like it. I think it helps it stand out a bit and is pretty modern looking, and I think for Razer as well, it's important to have a consistency across their lineup. The Stealth is made out of a CNC milled unibody aluminum chassis with an anodized matte black finish and a tone-on-tone Razer logo. Sorry for the fans of the LED light up one from some of last year's models, but I have a feeling that the lit up logo doesn't quite scream stealthy. The laptop weighs up to 3.04 pounds with the highest spec version and is just 14.8 millimeters thick. And thanks to a much smaller 4.9 millimeter bezel around the screen, the entire body actually takes up less volume than the previous model without losing the 13.3 inch screen. That screen, by the way, now comes in two versions: an FHD matte non-touch display and a 4K touchscreen model, which is what I have here. Both options are 100% sRGB and individually calibrated. Now above that screen, we have a 720p resolution webcam, but new to this year, it supports Windows Hello, thanks to the included necessary extra hardware like an IR sensor so you can sign in with your face. Beneath the screen, we have 4 Dolby Atmos stereo speakers on either side of the keyboard instead of the 2 of last year's model, and because of that, they get pretty loud without being distorted. Now the keyboard itself has a softer typing experience compared to my Razer Blade 15, I'd say, but it's still clicky and pleasurable. And unlike the Blade 15, we don't have the odd function key at the bottom right pushing the arrow keys over one and making you accidentally hit the wrong one out of habit. In order to keep the battery consumption and cost down, however, they did remove the individual key chroma functions, which allowed you to change the colors of every single key if you wanted, and instead replaced it with a one-zone chroma to light up the entire keyboard at once. So, chroma isn't gone, don't worry. Frankly, for me, if it does translate to better battery life, I never use the individual key colors anyway, so it's not really a big deal to me. Another extra benefit of this is that the function buttons now light up, whereas they didn't fully on the older model. And like the older model, you can control all of these colors with the included Razer Synapse app that's pre-installed. But just spectrum cycling, breathing, and static are available in the quick effects since there is only one zone that you can change. Beneath the keyboard, we have a much larger glass trackpad that for some reason feels a lot more responsive and just better than any other trackpad I've used on a Windows machine in a while. It is a Microsoft Precision touchpad, which is always better than any trackpad that isn't, in my opinion. And for those that aren't aware, that means Windows itself handles the drivers for the trackpad instead of the manufacturers each making their own, and it means that it's more responsive, it can use gestures that are built into Windows, etc. But this trackpad feels better than other Precision ones, so I'm not sure why, but I'm not complaining. For ports, we have a USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C port, a USB 3.1 Gen 1 standard Type-A port, and a 3.5mm headphone microphone combo jack on the left. On the right, we have another Type-C port, but this one is Thunderbolt 3 capable, and another USB 3.1 Gen 1 standard Type-A port. Now I'm super excited about the Thunderbolt 3 since that means you can not only connect super fast Thunderbolt 3 storage and devices, but you can also connect to an eGPU and utilize a much more powerful desktop graphics card. See my eGPU video here for more info on that. Also, you can now charge the laptop on either of those ports, as well as charge it and have another USB-C device attached, which I'm thankful for. And the fact that they have USB 3.1 Gen 2 means that they are a lot faster than normal USB 3.1 ports, topping at about 10 gigabits a second. The laptop comes with a much smaller charger than the Razer Blade 15, of course, which makes for the entire package that you need to carry around smaller and way less, but also it's a 65-watt charger. Now, that's important to me because I travel a lot. See Instagram, Twitter, etc. at The Unlocker for more on just how much is a lot. And every time I plug in my Razer Blade 15 into a power socket on a plane, it refuses to charge. This is because planes generally have a 70-watt limit, and gaming laptops like the Razer Blade 15 draw a lot more than that. This Stealth 2019, however, works just fine. And besides the pretty big design overhaul, it's what they put inside that's got me a little more excited this year. First, we have a quad-core 8th gen Intel i7-8565U processor with a base clock of 1.8 GHz, but a turbo clock of 4.6 GHz. The base model has 8 gigs of 2133 MHz RAM and 256 gigs of M.2 SATA SSD storage and an Intel UHD Graphics 620 GPU. But the graphics model has 16 gigs of 2133 MHz RAM and a 512 GB PCIe M.2 SSD and a proper NVIDIA MX150 4 gig GPU plus the Intel UHD 620. Now you cannot upgrade the RAM as it's fixed to the motherboard, unfortunately, but you can unscrew the bottom of the laptop and upgrade the SSD if you want, which is kind of cool. Now, one of my favorite Ultrabooks out there is the MateBook X Pro, which also has an MX150, but it's the 2 gig model while this is the 4. And while that might not sound like a big difference, for me, it's the difference of being able to edit my videos or not. Now, of course, it's not the same as the NVIDIA GTX 1070 that's in my Razer Blade 15, but if I adjust the settings in Premiere down to 1/4 in playback, I can edit my 4K footage just fine, even with graphics, speed ramps, etc. And unlike my Razer Blade 15, which would only last about 3 hours while editing, the Stealth 2019 lasts a lot longer, while just taking a bit longer to render out the video when I'm done. Frankly though, at this point, with how much I travel and work remotely, I'd take the smaller device with better battery life that I can still work on without issue over the more powerful one. Now, since this is a pre-production model, and by that I mean they even told me that the front edge of the laptop is a little sharper than they would like on the final model, so that just kind of shows you how pre-production this model is. I can't do benchmarks, which I understand. We don't want to put the wrong information out there and somebody take it out of context, etc. That's fine. And normally I would do like my battery test on it, I would do my Premiere render times and my gaming benchmarks, so I can't do that here. But what I can say is that it definitely lasts a lot longer than my Blade 15 did. It lasted me basically a full day of working in a coffee shop when I wasn't editing at least, so that's amazing because the Blade 15 couldn't do that. The render times in Premiere were surprisingly not that much slower than the 15 as I thought they would be. And Razer says that it'll do 60 frames a second in Overwatch and 100 frames per second in Counter-Strike. Now I do plan to get a proper retail unit at some point just because I want to play with it some more, and I have to send this one back shortly. So follow me again on social at The Unlocker with an E missing in the word Unlocker for benchmarks and stuff that I will post after the fact. Now for software, there isn't much because Razer thankfully doesn't add bloatware as part of their philosophy. So we are running Windows 10 and only have NVIDIA's software to control the discrete GPU and the graphics model, and the aforementioned Razer Synapse 3 program for controlling key shortcuts, macros, lighting effects, and system profiles for gaming versus battery optimized. Now, for pricing and availability. The base model of the Stealth 2019 will start at $1399. The graphics model with the FHD screen will be $1599, and the 4K touch model will be $1899. Not that bad, right? And there you guys, a complete walkthrough on the new Razer Blade Stealth 2019. To be honest, I'm probably gonna look into getting one of these for myself and maybe selling my Razer Blade 15. I need a little more time to play with it though to confirm that that's something I can actually substitute it for, but it would save me a little bit of money, it'd be smaller, charge. I just have to wait longer for my render times, which at this point with the amount of travel that I'm doing lately, like, that's fine. I would rather take the battery life and the charging on the plane and all that other stuff over it. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think of this laptop, of this video in the comments below. Always love hearing from you guys. And if you like this video, please thumbs up it or share it. Greatly appreciated. Don't forget to check out the rest of my channel. If you like what you see there, please subscribe and ding the bell next to the word subscribe so you get notified when I do new videos. As always though, regardless, thanks for watching.